Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Non-Sequitur Nerds. Tonight, we're here to turn over a new leaf. Well, not necessarily us, but the villains that we're going to be talking about who reform their lives. But, as always, I'm Tim, joined by my buddy Ian. How's it going, buddy?
Hey, things are going pretty well over here. It's been kind of a capstone of a week, but that's fairly normal for us. So, pushing on through life, limb, and whatever else is going on.
Yep.
Kids are kids, and you know, time keeps on slipping
Into the future?
into the future.
Ah,
Yes.
yes, I see.
Yes. I wanted to make sure that I spoke that rather than sing song it because I don't want to get sued. Uh,
Exactly.
anyway, yes, enough of the pleasantries, on to the fun stuff. So tonight, as Timothy said, we are going to be talking about the villains that turned hero, or at least turned over a new leaf, or for a while turned over a new leaf. It seems to be kind of common in comic books that, a villain will turn hero and then turn villain and then turn hero and then turn
Yep.
villain and then turn anti-hero and then turn anti-villain
Yep.
and then turn anti-villa hero, and it gets
Or
complicated.
sometimes somebody else will take up the name. Like, there have been some where characters have been villains, they die, a new person takes up that name and becomes a hero.
Yeah, yeah. We kind of talked about that previously before when we referred to the Red Hood. It was a persona that Joker's original character used, and then Jason Todd took that up as a hero, then villain, then anti-hero. So
Yeah.
he's kind of been around the block.
He's hit the gamut.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So anyway, so let's go ahead and jump into the list. I think last time when we talked about heroes turned villain, I believe I let you go first. So I
Yep.
think this time I'll go ahead and lead the charge.
Floor is
Uh,
yours.
so one of them I'm going to throw this one out there just because of how much it infuriates me.
Uh-oh.
But we will go with Morbius, the living vampire. And the only reason that this
It's Morbin
infuriates
time,
me,
Ian.
yes, it's Morbin time. The only reason that this infuriates me so much is because of the absolutely abysmal Sony movie that Jared Leto starred in. And as anybody who listens to the podcast knows, I absolutely loathe Jared Leto. I
It's
think he's
true. He
overrated.
really
I think
does.
he's a hack, and I think he's absolutely worthless as an actor. But moving on, so the character of Morbius is obviously known as the living vampire, and fun facts for you guys. They referred to him as the living vampire due to strict censorship laws and some of the ways that Marvel was trying to handle their properties because vampires are, known as undead. They didn't want to refer to him as undead due to censorship, so he was known as the living vampire.
Right.
Even though, I mean, there's no difference between him and any other vampire.
Well, I mean, it's
Reality.
it's like a genetic mutation thing, but I mean, like, he's a vampire.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, he drinks human blood. I mean, that's part of his characterization. But
Yep.
Morbius was one of those living vampires, villains that turned hero. He was an adversary for both Spider-Man and Blade. Which is interesting again because of how hardcore Blade can be in his methods, and the fact
Yep.
that Morbius was able to survive going toe to toe with Blade.
Right.
Um, he eventually kind of turned a new leaf and became a bit of an anti-hero. Not really heroic, but doing it for the right reasons rather than selfish reasons.
Right.
Still considered a bit of a vigilante though. So, but that fits in with Spider-Man's persona because Spider-Man's a bit of a he's a vigilante of his own in
He's a
his own right.
menace.
You know this. Give me pictures of Spider-Man. Anyway, so we'll go ahead and finish our Morbin time and turn it over to you. What do you got?
Well, one that, again, kind of following that trend of on again, off again villain hero, Catwoman. A
Mm,
longtime adversary to Bruce Wayne Batman, longtime love
Selena Kyle.
interest. Yep, longtime love interest of Bruce Wayne Batman. Was his betrothed at one point. The wedding got called off, but I mean, she has been. I don't want to say that she's self-serving, but I mean, she kind of is. She does what is best for her at that time. If it's best for her to commit crime, steal stuff, she's going to do it. If it's best for her to, help out to stop crime, she'll do it. So I mean, she's been very varied over the years as far as whether she's a hero or a villain, and it really does depend on the writer, the comic arc. But I mean, that's true with a lot of the characters we're going to be talking about. Um, but she was one of the more well known ones. So I figured I'd put her first on my list, just to kind of get the obvious DC one out of the way. But I mean, she's been a long time Batman character. I mean, even going back from early Batman comic appearances
Well, I
to
mean, he was even a character in the Adam West Batman
I was
TV
just gonna
series.
say, yep. I was just gonna say that.
She's a very popular, very strong
Yes.
character. The um, portrayals of her have varied over the years. Halle Berry's Catwoman kind of that one didn't land on its feet. Um,
Very nice, very nice.
we'll just say that. But there have been other characterizations that have been very popular, and Selena Kyle is, again, kind of that more anti-hero these days.
Yeah, anymore.
Villainous does villainous things, but she never does anything to be, I would say, villainous. She
Right. She
doesn't
does
kill
bad
people.
things, but she's not a bad. Just because you are a bad guy does not mean you are a bad guy.
Yeah. Um, Thank you, Satine. Anyway, uh, yeah, she does she does bad things, but I wouldn't say she's villainous. She doesn't kill
Yeah,
anyone. She doesn't, you
typically,
know, threaten anyone.
typically.
Typically, she's not making bomb threats against people. I
Yeah,
mean, will she hang someone over a ledge by her whip? Yes.
yeah.
You know,
Sometimes her and Batman do that. I mean,
well, usually when they're also tied at the hip and making smoochy smoochy.
exactly.
Um, but
Swear
yeah,
to me. So, but yeah. So I mean, Catwoman. I mean, it's still a very fan favorite character on the DC side, and a pretty high profile, recognizable character, I'd say.
yeah, I would say so.
So, all right, what do you got for your second one?
So I'm actually going to go for a twofer for my second one. It's going
Ooh,
to be a duo, not the dynamic duo,
I
but a
was gonna
different duo.
say.
It's going to be a different duo. So it's going to be the brother and sister combination of Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch.
Oh, okay, all right.
So they're usually pretty well tied. They were, at least in their original portrayals, they were pretty well tied at the hip. They're brother and sister, the children of Magneto. Depending on the universe,
Yeah,
maybe lovers.
yeah. That one was a little icky.
Ultimates kind of went off the deep end with some of their darkness.
Yeah,
In this case, really dark and creepy.
yeah.
But both of the characters, Wanda Maximoff and Pietro Maximoff, have been on again, off again heroes and villains, both being members of the Brotherhood of Mutants.
Yep.
Both being allied with the X-Men and other heroes. I mean, Scarlet Witch was part of the Avengers for a while. They're both in that kind of realm of hero villain. It really kind of, it's the flavor of the week type thing with them,
Yeah,
really. I mean, obviously Wanda had her big villainous kind of moment in House of M. Um,
yeah,
but she that was more of like a grieving process type thing. Like she was obviously devastated by some of the things that had happened in her
yeah.
life,
Oh,
and that's
absolutely.
why she did what she did. Um, so it's hard to really say that that was a villainous thing to do in that sense. I think she was really acting in the belief that, one, she was grieving, and two, she was trying to make the world a better place. But
Right.
and obviously they both have contention with their dad from time
Yeah,
to time.
just a little.
Yeah, and just a little bit. But and Pietro again has done some heroic things, but he also, of the two, he's probably the most anti-hero of the two.
Right. Yeah.
Still very self-serving, very egotistical, very much, I'm gonna do this, but I expect a paycheck at the end of it type.
Right.
You know. So
He'll do it if it suits him.
yes, exactly. Wanda can be a little bit more altruistic, I would say. But
Yeah, I'd say so.
yeah. Anyway, all right. On to you.
Well, for my next one, this is actually one of my former obscure, now more well-known DC characters, Plastic Man.
Ah,
So who actually started off as a petty crook. Um, and nowadays Plastic Man is well known as a respected member of the Justice League. Um, powers,
and the very frequent guest on the cartoon Batman the Brave and the Bold, I believe
yeah,
it was.
he was on there quite a lot. And I think a lot of the cartoon cameos that he has done have kind of helped make that character more well known. I would love to see a just goofy, Plastic Man live action movie. Give me Bruce Campbell 30 years ago, and you've got your Plastic Man. I mean, honestly. Um,
You really do.
but I mean, he,
Uh,
he is he is. A lot of people say, oh, well, that's just the DC Mister Fantastic. Well, when we talked about Reed Richards a little bit last night, well, not last night, but on our last episode, um, while Reed is incredibly intelligent, smartest man in the world, allegedly, he's also very aloof, very he does what he's going to do what he thinks is best, regardless of how other people feel. Plastic Man, while he is fairly intelligent, nowadays he is a tried and true hero. He will go so far as to sacrifice himself, to do good, but started off as somebody that, you know, Batman would have, cuffed on the streets and left tied up somewhere for robbing a bank or mugging a corner store or whatever. So I mean, his time as a villain compared to his time as a hero was relatively short, but I still think he falls in the category of villain turned hero.
yeah, I would say so. I mean, admittedly, I don't know as much about the character other than some of his appearances on Batman Brave and the Bold. But he was always a fun type character,
Oh
very
yeah,
goofy, kind
yep,
of,
very
that
goofy.
more comic relief type character than he was
Oh yeah,
anything else. Obviously has, is a very powerful character just due to his stretching abilities and nigh invulnerability due to
right,
it. But
shape shifting. Like there
yeah.
was there was one comic I saw where there was just a single panel where there was some kind of security door or something that like the lock was apparently unpickable, and you see him stick one of his fingers in there and just balloons up his hand to where it fills every crevice in this locking mechanism, turns it and unlocks it, and then he looks at the security camera where whoever was watching him, and he's just holding up his middle finger in the shape of a really weird key, and he said, "I got it." I'm like,
Yep.
you know what? Yeah, I'm for that. So,
Yep.
moving on to our third round now. What do you have from the Marvel camp?
So I'm gonna go with Emma Frost of the X-Men, longtime villain, very notorious villain actually, as one of the founders,
Yes.
as one of the founders of the Hellfire Club. One of the most powerful telekinetics in the Marvel universe. I
Well,
believe
is she
she's considered an Omega
telekinetic or
level
telepath?
telepath. Sorry, yes, telepath. Um, I believe she's considered an Omega level mutant
I believe so. Yeah.
in her own right. So, very powerful telepath.
Yes.
Also, one of the more provocatively dressed of the X-Men. But
I mean,
that's Emma's personality. She
yep.
very much has this femme fatale, arrogance about her, and
Right.
she has every right to have some level of that arrogance.
Right.
Also has the ability to turn herself into Diamond. Um, so part of a play on her name because she, Frost, and she looks frosty.
Right.
And she's also very cold
Yep.
as a person.
Yep. Well, I
But
think that like originally in the comics, when she would assume her diamond form, she couldn't use her telepathy, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. She would be near invulnerable, but couldn't use kind of her name or her title power, of telepathy.
right,
But and
I believe
I
she
don't know
still
if that's still the
maintains.
same in the comics now. I mean, it's a neat hook that she has like a secondary power that inhibits her first power. You don't see a whole lot of characters from the Marvel camp that have, two distinct powers like that that can't operate at the same time. So that's kind of a unique thing for her as a character.
Yeah, and I think she still maintains that same limitation of herself, which but she did eventually turn over a new leaf. She wound up joining the X-Men,
Yep.
especially when Charles Xavier went into a coma.
Yeah.
Um has fought against Jean Grey and the Phoenix Force multiple times.
Yep.
And in comics, she actually married Cyclops
They're a
for a
thing.
period. Yeah, for a period of time. They were married. I believe they even maybe had a child. I can't quite remember.
I think
Um,
in one of the timelines they did.
yeah, so she was still maintained that same kind of level of aloofness and coldness to a lot of people, but was still in her in all right, still a very loving wife to Scott, and was became one of the mainstays of the X-Men for a
Yeah.
very long time.
And I think she, like, as far as in the current continuity, I think she still is.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yep.
So anyway, next on your list.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna talk blonde bombshells, I would be remiss if I
Oh.
didn't mention the one and only Harley Quinn.
Mm.
Very much a fan favorite character. Um, obviously, famously, it started off as what was supposed to have been a one-off character in Batman the Animated Series as Joker's sidekick. Became so popular, they brought her back and kept bringing her back. So she actually debuted as an animated character before she made her comics debut, and to
Yeah,
this day is still oh good.
one of the few characters that actually have done that in many respects. I believe it was her, and I believe Two Face. Didn't he? Did he not
No,
also debut
I
as a? I thought he debuted as a
no,
comic as
I think he
a.
was in the comics first. I think,
I'm not sure. Well, we'll
but
check.
but no, I mean, she, like I said, famously started off as Joker's sidekick slash girlfriend, and comic writers, to their credit, years later broke that off because, like, anybody that was reading it realized she wasn't really important to Joker. Not in the sense that you would consider, your significant other. He would be just as likely to throw her on a grenade to save himself as he would be to, run a heist with her. So I mean, it was a very toxic, abusive relationship. And now we're seeing, especially with the launch of the Harley Quinn cartoon it came out, a while ago now. Season is it season
Three.
2, 3?
Yes, we're up to
Okay.
season 3 now.
Yep, season 3 came out not too long ago, actually. As of the
Hmm.
time of recording, I mean, and that show kind of helps cement that Harley is her own person now. Harley's going to do what's best for Harley. She is strong, she's independent, and she don't need no Joker in her life. She is not down with the clown. But I mean, she has while she still maintains a lot of villainous tendencies, she's skirting that line. I included her because she is definitely at times skirting that line to antihero. I wouldn't say she's full blown going to be inducted into the Justice League anytime soon, but at the same time, I don't think that she's going to, be teaming up with Joker again ever. Especially if they keep the way that they've been writing her the last several years. So I included her on as, I'll say, an honorable mention on my list because she's not fully hero yet, but she's doing a lot of the right things.
Yeah, and
And it's
Harley's an
Harley.
interesting. Yeah, Harley's an interesting characterization as well. Just because, I mean, let's also admit that the actresses that have played Harley Quinn in over the years have been fantastic.
Oh,
Obviously, the
absolutely.
debut Arlene Sorkin. It's the penultimate Harley Quinn. It was just a fantastic performance, and they actually based a lot of Harley's mannerisms and movements off of Arlene Sorkin
Yep, they did.
because they felt that she did such a fantastic job. Then Tara Strong obviously took up the mantle of Harley, plays Harley quite a lot in video games and other media.
Yep.
Then there, what's her name in the Suicide Squad movies? Her name
Um.
escapes me right now. But anyway,
Oh my God.
yes, it escapes both of us at this point now. We'll come back to that. The live action Harleys, she
Margot
played and was
Robbie.
Margot Robbie. Thank you.
I literally I
Um,
have a picture of her in my mind. I go, I know who this is. I know
yes,
this
Margot
woman.
Robbie. She did a decent job
Oh,
with it.
oh yeah,
I think.
I loved her presentation of it.
Yeah, and then we had Kaylee Cuoco playing as Harley in the HBO Max television series.
Yep.
So we've had a lot of really good
Oh,
representations, and
absolutely.
Harley's one of those characters as well that she's just again she's unhinged, but she isn't at the same time.
Yeah.
It's basically like if you took a free spirit and dialed it up to 14.
I mean, pretty much. That's not inaccurate.
Yeah. So, but she's a fantastic character, and I
Oh yeah.
love Harley. She's definitely a fan favorite.
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Speaking of fan favorites,
Oh,
I'll take one from my list
all
at
right.
this point. So, one that everyone knows and loves, Venom, the often and very much often much maligned Venom, the symbiote. Yes, the symbiote, villain to
Oh, you,
Spider-Man.
you mean the symbiote?
Yeah, the symbiote.
I am so
Uh,
glad they changed that dialogue.
ugh,
The trailer's
yeah, I
like,
don't know.
it's a symbiote. You mean symbiote?
Yeah.
That's the word
Uh,
you're looking for.
Yeah, but Venom, the symbiote fused with Eddie Brock with kind of some of the first appearances. Obviously, the first real kind of appearance was the black suited Spider-Man, and which was a favorite uniform of Spider-Man's, but it really kind of made him unhinged.
Yes.
Um, uh, so once he left and fused with Eddie, then we got the classic Venom that everybody knows and loves. And then we started seeing various different variations. The symbiote jumped around quite a lot. It actually bonded with Mac McGargan for a while, with Scorpion.
Yep.
And we had like the Scorpion Venom hybrid, which was a menacing character, very
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
very yeah, very very evil character. But then he kind of came about and really kind of showed kind of some of his more anti-hero tendencies. And the Venom movies that came out recently definitely portray that. Eddie
Yeah.
Brock is kind of an anti-hero. Not traditional hero type. I mean, he eats people, for crying out
I
loud.
mean, exactly.
Um,
I eat people.
right. But then we have Agent Venom.
Ooh, I
Um,
liked Agent Venom. I mean, I know a lot of people were kind of about it. I thought it was a cool take on Venom while still keeping it main continuity. You know?
Yeah, I did too. I thought it was a great characterization. So, and then obviously Venom was a member of the Thunderbolts as well, which we'd kind of talked about last time.
Yep.
So there's he's a great character, and I love the different ways that they're using him these days, and not just as your almost Spawn lookalike.
Right.
Um,
Well, I mean, because
so
they both came out pretty close to the same time, didn't they? Like,
I think so.
yeah.
Well, I mean, Ian McFarlane also did. I mean, he's done his stints
You
on
mean Todd
different.
Todd McFarlane?
Todd McFarlane, sorry.
I'm like, who the heck is Ian McFarlane? Not
Yeah,
everybody
sorry,
famous
Todd
is named
McFarlane.
Ian. Ian.
Uh, yeah, I'm pretty sure there is an Ian McFarlane, but
And there's a Seth MacFarlane.
oh, y- yeah. Um, anyway, moving on.
All right.
So, yeah, what do you got?
Well, one that I have, and this is something I kind of alluded to at the top of the show. Doctor Light.
Hmm,
Uh, of DC Comics fame. This is one that technically in name only did this person become a hero, because the original Doctor Light, and I won't get into some of the more unsavory villainous things that character has done. Yeah. But died, and a new person, a female actually by the name of Kimiyo Hoshi, took up the mantle of Dr. Light and actually became a hero under that same moniker. Very similar power set. Was a member of the Justice League. So I mean, you're talking, going from the worst of the worst villains to DC's premier powerhouse, superhero team. That's a bit of a change. And like I said, this one's a little bit different because again, it is a villain to hero change in name only. It's not the same character, but it was still absolutely worth mentioning that you can still take an interesting concept, do a little bit of reworking on it. Boom, you can go from a villain to a hero, and it works out. So
yeah, and admittedly, I don't know a whole lot about Dr. Light or that persona of Dr. Light anyway. Know more about the nefarious
yeah,
Dr. Light. So
yes,
yeah,
yeah.
we
There,
we
like I
will.
said, there's some unsavory things that Dr. Light did that we will not talk about.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're all, the new Dr. Light's main nemesis was Dr. Wily. For those of you that didn't know.
I hate you so much. I hate you so much.
So much.
So
All
anyway,
right. Well, moving on. We will go to our very last round here in this discussion. So I'm going to pick yet another fan favorite, and probably one of the penultimate fan favorites,
all right.
Deadpool.
I was hoping that would be on your list.
Yes, everyone's favorite Merc with a Mouth, the witty, funny anti-hero known as Deadpool, Wade Wilson, which was Marvel's play off of Deathstroke, who is Slade Wilson.
Yep.
Um, so they wanted to, they were making a character completely under the auspices of taking a jab at DC.
Yeah.
Um, but he's since moved into his own right and become his own thing
Absolutely.
in so much that he's a crazy character, completely unhinged, and has made friends with some of the weirdest
Yes.
people out there.
Yes.
A good friend to Cable. Like, really?
Well, I
Of
mean,
all people,
well,
Cable?
I think like Cable's probably the most mild one on that list. I mean,
Right.
Deadpool was literally married to a queen of demons for a while. Like his all-time ultimate girl crush, Death herself. But
Yeah.
since the whole thing with that is they'll be together when he dies, but he can't.
Right.
So I mean,
Yeah.
it's yeah, Deadpool. Like they have done so much of that character, so much just weird stuff. I mean, there was Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe, which is a fantastic read. There was Deadpool Super Secret Wars, where you actually find out that Deadpool is the reason that Spider-Man got the black suit. So which I mean, it's great what they do. I mean, Daredevil has Daredevil. Wow, Deadpool has done it all. He has been with the X-Men. He's been teamed up with the Avengers. He has time traveled. He's gone to other universes. There's multiple versions of him. It's that is a character who I don't think is going anywhere anytime soon.
Except up.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
Yes.
Or
And Deadpool.
down.
Heyo. Deadpool's one of those interesting characters too, in that he is so unhinged and psychotic. He actually knows that he is in a comic book,
Yeah.
and he fully acknowledges that he is in a comic book. So if you ever read Deadpool comic books, you notice his speech bubbles are always a different color,
Yep.
because that is supposed to signify as well that his knowledge of the fact that he knows that he is in a comic book, and
Yep.
he calls that out quite a lot. There's only a few characters that actually know that. I believe Loki is actually another one.
Because of some of his magic, I think Doctor Strange at one point knew, and She-Hulk actually knows, which is going to be interesting because in the upcoming She-Hulk show, one of the trailers they put out, she looks directly at the camera and talks to the audience, and you see Hulk in the background going, trying to figure out who she's talking to. So
Right.
it's fourth wall breaking is something that not a lot of the characters. Deadpool's probably the most well known for it. But there are other characters because of, cosmic or mystical levels of awareness are aware that there is something more. But I mean, Deadpool, there are some comics where most of it he's talking to the reader.
Right. And then obviously we have the Deadpool movies, famously played by Ryan Reynolds, who
Yes.
does. I literally cannot think of anyone else who could play Deadpool other than Ryan Reynolds.
Right.
Not only is he physically in the shape that he needs to be for Deadpool,
Yep.
but I mean, that is literally his personality.
I mean,
Like,
yeah.
he is Deadpool.
Well, I mean,
And what's funny is he really got into the character of Deadpool when he originally played Deadpool for the terrible X-Men Origins movie.
yep.
And he started reading the Deadpool comics then to kind of understand the character, and fell in love with it, and then wanted to, continue doing that. And so what's interesting is Ryan Reynolds very much had that personality before he ever
Yep.
really got into Deadpool.
Yep. Well, I
So
mean, one thing that's kind of funny is I think I've mentioned this before, but there was a Deadpool comic where he gets his cancer cured, and like so his regenerative powers, get rid of all the tumors and make him look normal. And somebody goes, anyone ever told you you look a lot like Ryan Reynolds? And so it's just been kind of a running gag that, Sam Jackson looks like Nick Fury and Deadpool looks like Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, exactly.
You look like an
And then
avocado had
obviously,
sex with an older, uglier avocado.
and then obviously, there's the fourth wall breaking goes so far in the movies as to Ryan Reynolds appearing as himself while accepting the role of Green Lantern.
Yep.
Deadpool making fun of himself by saying, "Please don't make the suit green or CGI."
Yep. Yep.
So, there's a lot of tongue in cheek with Deadpool. That's
Yep.
just so much fun to watch and listen to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
One of my all-time favorite Marvel characters.
yes. All right, what do you got for our last
So
one?
for
Let's make it a good one.
for my final one, this is one that was just so bizarre when DC said they were going to do it that it deserves a list on here. We're all familiar with, especially from the newer Suicide Squad movie, we're all familiar with Starro the Conqueror. Do you know about his son, Jarro the Robin? That's right, one of Starro's spawn wanted to be better than his dad, wanted to do right, wanted Batman to be his dad, so he became a Robin. That is one of the Robins that we did not mention on our list all the way back in season one, or no, or was that season two? In an earlier episode, we talked about Batman and all of his Robins, and Jarro was not. So I would like to apologize to everybody that watched or listened to that episode. Jarro was one of Batman's Robins, and it literally is a tiny alien starfish with a big eye in the middle of it, dressed as Robin.
I
So that those a because I mean all of the spawns of Jarro are or Starro, excuse me, have the potential to become another Starro. So this is by technicality a villain turned hero.
You've had two of those on this
You
list, and I
know,
feel it's almost cheating.
you know
Uh,
what? I mean, it is what it is, Ian.
yeah, it is what it is. But in that regard, I'm going to throw in one honorable mention for
Okay,
your list.
okay, okay.
And I will throw in my honorable mention of one intergalactic biker known as Lobo.
I see. I wanted to put Lobo on here, but I mean, I like Lobo. Don't get me wrong. I love Lobo. I wish that Macho Man Randy Savage could have done his voice for all of eternity. Um, because or either him or Hulk Hogan, because he is very much supposed to be one of those two guys. But I mean, at the end of the day, the main man is gonna do what the main man wants to do as long as there's a paycheck. Good, bad, doesn't matter. He's the guy with the gun and baseball bat and rocket
Ah,
launcher and motorcycle
and chains
and chains and hooks. I
and
mean,
hooks
he's just got a lot of weapons.
and a daughter.
Yes, he does. Yeah, yes, he does have a daughter.
Crush.
Hmm? Who
Yes,
becomes a member of the Teen Titans, I believe.
correct. I believe we actually covered that a little bit on an earlier episode, but
You know what? We did actually. We did. Yep.
mhm. So yeah. I think that'll actually do it for us for
All
tonight.
right.
We've been through our lists,
I
and
think so.
yeah, if you obviously want to know about other heroes turned villains, you're welcome to look at the internet or post in the comments and give us some more ideas for ones to talk about. We're always willing to listen to our loyal viewer. So we would
I like how you
hope
said
that
viewer singular there.
we know you're out there and we appreciate you. Um, anyway, so yeah, I think that'll do it for us. So we'll go ahead and wrap up for here. As always, we thank you for joining us and listening to Non Sequitur Nerds. You can catch us on our sponsor platform, Anchor.fm, which is fed out by Spotify. You can catch us on social media, facebook.com/slash non sequitur nerds, Twitter at non sequitur nerd, youtube.com/slash non sequitur nerds, and occasionally, as in never, twitch.tv/slash non sequitur nerds. And of course, you can now catch the live, not necessarily live, but the recorded videos of us doing this on both youtube.com and Spotify in the Spotify videos.
Yeah, you
So,
can.
yes. So again, thank you, and I think we'll go ahead and call it a night.
Think so.
So as always, for the non sequitur nerds, I am Ian, and that, of course, is
I'm Tim. Night, everybody.